Sarah Martinez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she set down the heavy picnic basket. The city park was busy that Saturday afternoon. Families filled the green spaces with their blankets and children's laughter. Sarah smiled as she watched her 5-year-old son Tommy run toward the playground. Her 8-year-old daughter Emma was already setting up their small blanket under a big oak tree. "Mom, can we eat now?" Emma asked, opening the basket to peek inside. "Let Tommy play for a few minutes first," Sarah said. She sat down on the blanket and felt her tired legs relax. Working double shifts at Joe's diner all week had worn her out. But seeing her children happy made every hard hour worth it. Sarah looked around the park. She saw other families with their nice cars and expensive picnic gear. Her old Honda was parked far away because all the close spots were taken. Their picnic was simple: peanut butter sandwiches, store-brand chips, and water bottles. But her kids didn't seem to mind. Tommy ran back from the playground, his face red from playing. "Mom, I'm thirsty," he said, breathing a little hard. Sarah handed him a water bottle. "Drink slowly, baby." As Tommy drank, Sarah noticed his breathing seemed different. It was faster than normal. She felt a small worry in her chest but pushed it away. Tommy had asthma, but it had been under control for months. His inhaler was in her purse, just in case. "Can we eat the sandwiches now?" Tommy asked. "Of course," Sarah said, unpacking their lunch. They ate and talked about Tommy's upcoming first-grade year and Emma's new teacher. The sun felt warm on their faces. For a moment, Sarah forgot about her money problems and her ex-husband who never called the kids. This was what mattered: being together. After lunch, Tommy wanted to play on the swings. Emma went with him to push him higher. Sarah cleaned up their picnic area and watched her children play. Other parents sat in their folding chairs, talking on their phones or reading. Sarah wished she could afford nice things like that, but she was grateful for what they had. Suddenly, she heard Tommy coughing. It wasn't his normal cough. This one sounded tight and scary. Sarah stood up quickly and saw Tommy sitting on a swing, holding his chest. "Emma, bring your brother here," Sarah called out. Emma helped Tommy walk back to their blanket. His face was getting pale, and his breathing was making a wheezing sound. Sarah's heart began to race. "Tommy, where's the tight feeling?" she asked, kneeling beside him. "Here," he said, pointing to his chest. "It hurts to breathe." Sarah grabbed her purse and looked for Tommy's inhaler. Her hands shook as she searched through old receipts, crayons, and hair ties. Where was it? She always kept it in the same pocket. "Mom, what's wrong?" Emma asked, her voice scared. "It's okay, honey. Just help me look for Tommy's medicine," Sarah said, trying to stay calm. Tommy's breathing was getting worse. The wheezing sound was louder now. Sarah finally found the inhaler at the bottom of her purse. She shook it and pressed it to Tommy's mouth. "Breathe in, baby," she said. Tommy tried, but nothing came out of the inhaler. Sarah shook it again and tried once more. Empty. The inhaler was empty. Panic filled Sarah's chest like ice water. Tommy's breathing was getting harder. His lips were starting to look blue around the edges. She had seen this before, but never this bad. "Help!" Sarah called out. "Someone please help me." A few people looked over, but no one moved. Sarah picked up Tommy in her arms. He felt so small and fragile. His breathing was making terrible sounds now. "Please!" Sarah screamed louder. "My son can't breathe! Someone help us!" More people started to notice. A woman with gray hair hurried over. "What's wrong?" the woman asked. "He has asthma. His inhaler is empty." "I need to get him to a hospital," Sarah said, tears starting to fall. "My car is parked far away," the woman said. Let me call 911. There's no time, Sarah cried. Tommy's eyes were starting to close. Please, someone has to help us. People gathered around them now, but everyone seemed as scared as Sarah. Someone mentioned calling 911. Another person said the nearest hospital was 20 minutes away. Sarah felt like she was drowning in fear. Tommy's breathing was getting weaker. Sarah held him tighter and looked around desperately. Her phone battery had died hours ago. She had no money for a taxi, even if one was nearby. Please don't leave me, baby, she whispered to Tommy. Mommy's going to find help. Just then, she heard a calm voice behind her. I've called 911. The ambulance is coming. Sarah turned and saw a tall black man in an expensive suit. He was holding a phone and talking to someone. Yes, we're at Riverside Park near the main playground, he said into the phone. 5-year-old boy, severe asthma attack, inhaler empty. His breathing is very labored. The man ended his call and knelt down beside Sarah. The ambulance will be here in 5 minutes. What's your son's name? Tommy, Sarah said, her voice shaking. Tommy Martinez. Hi, Tommy, the man said gently. My name is Marcus. You're going to be okay, little man. Marcus looked at Sarah with kind eyes. What usually helps him when this happens? His inhaler, but it's empty. This has never been this bad before, Sarah said. Okay, try to keep him calm. Sometimes panic makes it worse, Marcus said. He took off his suit jacket and rolled it up. Put this under his head. It might help him breathe a little easier. Sarah did what Marcus suggested. She was surprised by how calm he seemed. While everyone else looked scared or unsure, Marcus acted like he knew exactly what to do. Emma, come here, sweetheart, Marcus said to Sarah's daughter. Can you help me watch for the ambulance? Emma nodded and stood beside Marcus. Sarah was grateful that someone was keeping Emma busy. She needed to focus all her attention on Tommy. Tommy's breathing was still terrible, but Marcus's calm presence made Sarah feel less alone. She didn't know who this man was, but he had appeared exactly when she needed help most. There it is. Emma pointed to the street. Sarah could hear the ambulance siren getting louder. Marcus stood up and waved his arms to guide the paramedics to their location. 2 paramedics ran over with their equipment. One was a young woman with short brown hair. The other was an older man with gray at his temples. What do we have? The woman asked. 5-year-old male, severe asthma attack, Marcus said. Inhaler was empty. Breathing has been labored for about 10 minutes. Sarah was surprised that Marcus could explain everything so clearly. The paramedics immediately began working on Tommy. They put an oxygen mask over his small face and checked his vital signs. His oxygen levels are low, but he's responding to the oxygen, the male paramedic said. We need to get him to the hospital now. They lifted Tommy onto a small stretcher. Sarah grabbed Emma's hand and started to follow. Ma'am, you can ride in the ambulance, the female paramedic said, but there's only room for one person. Sarah looked at Emma, then at Marcus. She couldn't leave Emma alone in the park. I'll take care of your daughter, Marcus said. I'll follow the ambulance in my car and bring her to the hospital. Sarah hesitated. She didn't know this man, but Emma seemed comfortable with him, and Sarah had no other choice. Emma, stay with Mr. Marcus, okay? I'll see you at the hospital, Sarah said, kissing her daughter's forehead. Okay, Mom. Take care of Tommy, Emma said bravely. As the ambulance doors closed, Sarah saw Marcus taking Emma's hand and walking toward the parking lot. She hoped she had made the right choice, trusting a stranger with her daughter, but something about Marcus felt safe and reliable. The ambulance raced through the city streets with its sirens blaring. Sarah held Tommy's hand as the paramedics worked to help him breathe. She said a silent prayer that her little boy would be okay. She thought about the man who had helped them. Marcus had appeared like an angel when she needed help most. She wondered who he was and why he had been so kind to strangers. The hospital emergency room was bright and busy. Sarah sat in a hard plastic chair outside Tommy's room, watching doctors and nurses move quickly through the hallways. Her hands were still shaking from the scary afternoon at the park. A doctor with kind eyes came out of Tommy's room. "Mrs. Martinez?" "Yes," Sarah said, standing up quickly. "How is he?" "Tommy is doing much better. We gave him medicine to open his airways, and his breathing has improved a lot. We want to keep him overnight to make sure he stays stable." Sarah felt her legs go weak with relief. "Thank you so much. Can I see him now?" "Of course. He's been asking for his mom." Sarah hurried into the room where Tommy was lying in a small hospital bed. He looked tiny, surrounded by all the medical equipment, but his color was much better. The scary blue color around his lips was gone. "Hi, baby," Sarah said, sitting in the chair beside his bed. "How are you feeling?" "Better," Tommy said in a small voice. The breathing mask helped. "Where's Emma?" "She's with the nice man who helped us at the park. His name is Marcus. They should be here soon." Just then, Sarah heard familiar voices in the hallway. Emma's laugh echoed off the walls, followed by a deeper male voice. Marcus appeared in the doorway with Emma beside him. Emma was holding a small teddy bear and had a big smile on her face. "Tommy!" Emma ran to her brother's bedside. "Look what Mr. Marcus bought you at the gift shop." She handed Tommy the brown teddy bear. Tommy hugged it close to his chest. "Thank you," Tommy said to Marcus. "What's his name?" "That's up to you to decide," Marcus said with a smile. "How are you feeling, little man?" "Much better. The doctor gave me special medicine." Sarah looked at Marcus with grateful eyes. "I can't thank you enough for everything you did today, and for taking care of Emma." "It was no problem at all," Marcus said. "Emma told me all about her school and her favorite books on the way here. She's a very smart young lady." Emma beamed with pride. "Mr. Marcus has read some of the same books I have, and he bought me a sandwich from the cafeteria because I was hungry." Sarah felt embarrassed. She hadn't thought about Emma being hungry. All her focus had been on Tommy's breathing. "You didn't have to do that," Sarah said. "Let me pay you back for the food and the teddy bear." "Please don't worry about it," Marcus said. "I was happy to help." A nurse came into the room to check Tommy's vital signs. While she worked, Marcus and Sarah stepped into the hallway to talk. "The doctor says Tommy needs to stay overnight," Sarah said. "I don't know how I'm going to pay for all this. I have insurance, but it doesn't cover everything." Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Don't worry about the money right now. Focus on Tommy getting better." Sarah looked at Marcus more closely. His suit looked expensive, and his watch probably cost more than she made in a month. But he didn't act stuck up or proud like she expected rich people to act. "Can I ask you something?" Sarah said. "What were you doing at the park today? You don't look like someone who usually hangs out at public parks." Marcus smiled a little. "I had a difficult meeting at my office downtown. I needed some fresh air and time to think. I was walking through the park when I heard you calling for help." "What kind of work do you do?" Sarah asked. "I own a technology company. We develop medical devices and software." Sarah felt her stomach drop. This man was probably very wealthy and important. What was he doing helping a poor single mother and her kids? "I bet you have more important things to do than sit in a hospital with strangers," Sarah said. Marcus looked surprised by her comment. There's nothing more important than making sure Tommy is okay. And you're not strangers anymore. You're friends. Before Sarah could respond, Emma came running into the hallway. Mom, Tommy wants to know if Mr. Marcus can stay for dinner. The nurse said they're bringing him a tray soon. Sarah felt embarrassed again. Emma, Mr. Marcus probably has his own dinner plans. Actually, I don't, Marcus said. I'd be honored to have dinner with Tommy, if that's okay with you. Sarah nodded, though she wondered why someone like Marcus would want to spend his evening in a hospital room. They all went back into Tommy's room. A food service worker brought Tommy's dinner tray, chicken nuggets, mashed potatoes, green beans, and chocolate pudding. Tommy's eyes lit up when he saw the pudding. This is way better than hospital food, Tommy said, taking a bite of chicken. Nuggets. Have you been in the hospital before? Marcus asked. 2 times when I was little. But I don't remember much about it, Tommy said. Mom says I was really sick with pneumonia. Sarah felt Marcus looking at her with respect. She wondered what he was thinking about her life and all the challenges she had faced as a single mother. While Tommy ate, Marcus asked Emma about her favorite subjects in school. Emma told him she loved reading and math, but that science was hard for her. Science was hard for me too when I was your age, Marcus said. But once I understood that science is just about asking questions and finding answers, it became fun. Really? Emma asked. You're smart now, so I thought everything was always easy for you. Marcus laughed. Not at all. I failed my first science test in middle school. My mom had to help me study for hours to bring my grade up. Sarah was surprised to hear Marcus mention his mother and struggling in school. She had assumed someone with his success had always had an easy life. What does your mom do? Emma asked. Marcus's expression became a little sad. She died when I was in college, but she was a nurse at a hospital like this one. She worked very hard to take care of me and pay for my education. I'm sorry, Sarah said softly. She understood what it felt like to be alone and responsible for everything. Thank you, Marcus said. She would have liked meeting your family. She always said that helping children was the most important work in the world. Tommy finished his dinner and was getting sleepy. The medicine and the excitement of the day had worn him out. Sarah tucked the teddy bear next to him and kissed his forehead. Get some rest, baby. I'll be right here all night. Can Mr. Marcus visit me tomorrow? Tommy asked. Sarah looked at Marcus, not sure what to say. She didn't want Tommy to get attached to someone who would disappear from their lives. If your mom says it's okay, I'd love to visit you tomorrow, Marcus said. Please, Mom? Tommy asked. We'll see, Sarah said. Mr. Marcus might be busy with work. As Tommy fell asleep, Marcus and Sarah sat quietly in the chairs beside his bed. Emma had curled up in another chair and was also getting sleepy. You don't have to stay, Sarah whispered to Marcus. I'm sure you have other things to do tonight. I don't mind staying, Marcus whispered back. Unless you'd prefer to be alone with your children. Sarah thought about it. Part of her wanted to be independent and handle this crisis by herself, like she handled everything else. But another part of her was grateful for Marcus's calm presence. You can stay if you want, she said. But I should warn you that hospital chairs aren't very comfortable for sleeping. I've slept in worse places, Marcus said with a smile. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching Tommy sleep peacefully. Sarah found herself curious about this mysterious man who had entered their lives. Can I ask you something else? Sarah said quietly. Of course. Why are you really here? I mean, you helped us at the park, which was amazing. But most people would go home after that. You've been here for hours. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "When I was Tommy's age, I had a medical emergency too. My mom was a single parent, just like you. She was scared and alone at the hospital. A stranger helped us that day. A doctor who stayed late to make sure I was okay, even though his shift was over." Sarah listened carefully. "That doctor didn't know us, but he treated us like we mattered," Marcus continued. "He made my mom feel less alone. I guess I wanted to do the same thing for you." Sarah felt tears come to her eyes. "That's really kind of you." "Besides," Marcus said, "Tommy and Emma are great kids, and you're doing an amazing job raising them by yourself. That takes a lot of strength." Sarah wasn't used to compliments about her parenting. Most days, she felt like she was barely keeping up with everything. "Some days I don't feel very strong," she admitted. "Today was one of those days. When Tommy couldn't breathe, I felt so helpless. But you didn't give up. You kept calling for help until someone came. That's what good mothers do." A nurse came in to check on Tommy. She told Sarah that his breathing was normal and his vital signs looked good. "He should be able to go home tomorrow afternoon if he continues to improve," the nurse said. After the nurse left, Marcus stood up to stretch his legs. "I should probably go home and let you get some rest." "Thank you for everything today," Sarah said. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been there." "I'm glad I could help," Marcus said. He wrote something on a piece of paper and handed it to Sarah. "This is my phone number. If Tommy has any problems tonight or if you need anything at all, please call me." Sarah looked at the paper. "I don't want to bother you." "You wouldn't be bothering me. I mean it." Marcus said goodbye to sleeping Tommy and Emma, then quietly left the room. Sarah looked at the phone number in her hand. She wondered if she would ever see Marcus again after tomorrow. Sarah woke up in the uncomfortable hospital chair with a stiff neck. Sunlight was coming through the window, and Tommy was sitting up in bed playing with his new teddy bear. Emma was awake too, brushing her hair with her fingers. "Good morning, Mom," Tommy said with a smile. "I feel much better today." "That's wonderful, baby," Sarah said, standing up to stretch. Her whole body ached from sleeping in the chair all night. A different doctor came in to examine Tommy. After listening to his lungs and checking his breathing, she smiled. "Everything sounds clear. You can go home this afternoon, but make sure you always have a backup inhaler and come back right away if you have any breathing problems." Sarah felt relieved but also worried. She needed to get new inhalers, but they were expensive. She also needed to get back to work. She had already Mr. Saturday evening shift at the diner. "Mom, can we call Mr. Marcus and tell him I'm better?" Tommy asked. Sarah hesitated. She didn't want to bother Marcus, but Tommy had been asking about him all morning. "Maybe later, sweetheart. He's probably busy with work." Emma looked disappointed. "But he said he wanted to visit Tommy today." Before Sarah could respond, there was a knock on the door. Marcus appeared with a bag from a local bakery and coffee cups. "Good morning," he said with a warm smile. "I brought breakfast for everyone." Tommy's face lit up. "Mr. Marcus, the doctor says I can go home today." "That's fantastic news," Marcus said, setting the food on the small table. "I brought chocolate chip muffins and orange juice for you and Emma, and coffee for your mom." Sarah felt her eyes fill with tears. She couldn't remember the last time someone had brought her coffee or thought about what she might need. "You didn't have to do this," Sarah said. "I wanted to," Marcus said simply. "How did everyone sleep?" "Tommy slept great, but I think Mom's neck hurts," Emma said, always observant. Hospital chairs are not made for sleeping, Marcus agreed. Maybe next time I should bring a better pillow. Sarah looked at him strangely. Next time? Marcus looked a little embarrassed. I just meant, if there's ever another emergency, which I hope there won't be. They ate their breakfast together, and Sarah had to admit the coffee was the best she'd had in months. Marcus asked Tommy about his teddy bear's name and learned it was now called Helper because he helped Tommy feel better. When it was time to leave the hospital, Marcus offered to drive them home. Sarah's first instinct was to say no, but she realized she didn't have money for a taxi and the bus would be difficult with all of Tommy's medicine and the flowers the nurses had given him. If it's not too much trouble, Sarah said. No trouble. At all, Marcus said. In the parking garage, Sarah was shocked to see Marcus's car. It was a black luxury sedan that probably cost more than she made in 2 years. She felt out of place getting into such an expensive vehicle with her worn jeans and old purse. The car was quiet and smooth, nothing like her old Honda that made strange noises and had a broken air conditioner. Emma and Tommy were impressed by all the buttons and screens. Where do you live? Marcus asked as they left the hospital. Sarah gave him directions to their small apartment complex on the east side of town. As they drove through her neighborhood, she felt embarrassed by the run-down buildings and empty lots. What must Marcus think of where she lived? When they reached her apartment building, Marcus helped carry Tommy's things upstairs. Their apartment was small, but clean. Sarah had worked hard to make it feel like home with colorful curtains and pictures the kids had drawn. This is nice, Marcus said, looking around. You've made it very cozy. Sarah wasn't sure if he was being polite or if he really meant it. To her, the apartment felt cramped and shabby compared to what Marcus probably lived in. Would you like some water? Sarah offered. It's all I have to drink right now. Water would be great, Marcus said. While Sarah was in the kitchen, she heard Marcus talking with the kids in the living room. He was asking Tommy about his favorite games and listening to Emma read from one of her library books. When Sarah returned with glasses of water, she found Marcus sitting on their old couch looking completely comfortable. He didn't seem bothered by the furniture that came from thrift stores or the carpet that had stains she couldn't get out. Mom, can Mr. Marcus stay for lunch? Emma asked. Sarah felt embarrassed again. She had been planning to make grilled cheese. Sandwiches and canned soup? Not exactly fancy food to serve someone like Marcus. I'm sure Mr. Marcus has other plans, Sarah said. Actually, I don't, Marcus said, but only if it's not too much trouble. I could pick up something from a restaurant. If you'd prefer? No, that's okay. I can make lunch, Sarah said, though she worried about what Marcus would think of her simple cooking. While Sarah prepared lunch in the tiny kitchen, she could hear Marcus playing a card game with the kids. He seemed to genuinely enjoy their company, which surprised her. She had expected him to be checking his phone or looking uncomfortable in their modest home. During lunch, Tommy asked Marcus about his work. I help create machines that help doctors take care of sick people, Marcus explained in simple terms. Like the machines that helped you breathe better at the hospital. Did you make those machines? Emma asked. My company made some of them. It's very rewarding work because we get to help people feel better. Sarah found herself curious about Marcus's life. Do you have children of your own? Marcus's expression became a little sad. No, I don't. I've been so focused on work that I haven't made time for a family. Don't you get lonely? Emma asked with the honesty that only children have. Sometimes, Marcus admitted, but spending time with you and Tommy and your mom has been really nice. You've reminded me what I've been missing, After lunch, Marcus helped clear the dishes despite Sarah's protests. As he was getting ready to leave, Tommy hugged his legs. "Will you come visit us again?" Tommy asked. Marcus looked at Sarah, waiting for her answer. "Mr. Marcus is very busy with his work," Sarah said carefully. "We can't expect him to keep visiting us." "But I'd like to visit again, if that's okay with you," Marcus said. "Maybe I could take you all out for dinner sometime. Somewhere fun that the kids would enjoy." Sarah felt conflicted. Part of her wanted to say yes because the kids clearly liked Marcus, and she enjoyed his company too. But another part of her worried about what he really wanted. Why would a wealthy, successful man want to spend time with her family? "We'll see," Sarah said, the same answer she gave when the kids asked for things she wasn't sure about. Marcus gave Tommy and Emma gentle hugs goodbye. Then he handed Sarah his business card. "This has my personal phone number on it," he said. "Please call me if you need anything at all, and I mean anything. If Tommy has breathing problems, if you need help with something, or if you just want to talk." After Marcus left, the apartment felt quiet and empty. The kids kept talking about their new friend and all the nice things he had done for them. "Mom, why don't you want Mr. Marcus to visit us again?" Emma asked. Sarah sat down on the couch and tried to explain. "It's not that I don't want him to visit, it's just that Mr. Marcus and our family are very different. He has a lot of money and important work to do. We don't want to bother him. But he doesn't act like we're bothering him," Tommy said. "He seems happy when he's with us." "He bought you that teddy bear and brought us breakfast," Emma added. "Mean people don't do nice things like that." Sarah knew her children were right, but she was still worried. In her experience, when things seemed too good to be true, they usually were. She had been disappointed before by people who seemed kind, but then left when things got difficult. That evening, Sarah was getting the kids ready for bed when her phone rang. It was Marcus. "Hi, Sarah. I hope I'm not calling too late. I just wanted to check on Tommy and see how he's feeling." "He's doing great," Sarah said. "The medicine is working well, and his breathing is normal." "That's wonderful news. And how are you doing? You look tired today." Sarah was surprised that Marcus had noticed how she felt. "I'm okay. Just trying to catch up on everything I missed while we were at the hospital." "Is there anything I can help with?" Marcus asked. "No, but thank you for offering. You've already done so much for us." They talked for a few more minutes about Tommy's recovery and when he could return to school. Marcus's voice was warm and caring, like he genuinely wanted to know about their lives. After hanging up, Sarah realized that talking to Marcus had made her feel less alone. She couldn't remember the last time an adult had asked how she was doing and really wanted to hear the answer. Over the next few days, Marcus called every evening to check on Tommy. Sometimes he would ask to talk to the kids, and Sarah would hear them laughing at something he said. On Wednesday, he sent flowers to Sarah's workplace with a note that said, "Thank you for letting me be part of your family." Sarah's co-workers at the diner were curious about who had sent the expensive flowers. When she explained about Marcus helping Tommy at the hospital, her friend Jenny raised her eyebrows. "A rich guy who stays at the hospital all night and sends you flowers? Honey, I think he likes you." "It's not like that," Sarah said quickly. "He's just being kind." "Men don't buy flowers for women they're just being kind to," Jenny said. "Especially not expensive flowers like these." Sarah looked at the beautiful arrangement and wondered if Jenny was right. But even if Marcus did like her as more than a friend, what kind of future could they have? They lived in completely different worlds. 6 months had passed since Sarah and her children moved into Marcus's house. Life had settled into a comfortable routine. Marcus would wake up early to make breakfast for the family before heading to work. Sarah had found a better job at a medical office thanks to Marcus's encouragement to go back to school for her certification. The kids were happy and doing well in their new school, but Sarah still sometimes felt like she was living in a dream that might end at any moment. One Tuesday evening, Marcus came home from work looking worried. Sarah noticed his troubled expression as he played with the kids after dinner. "Is everything okay?" Sarah asked when they were alone in the kitchen washing dishes. "There's something I need to tell you," Marcus said. "My business partner wants to expand our company to Europe. It would mean moving to London for at least 2 years. Sarah felt her stomach drop. "When would you have to leave?" "That's just it. I turned down the opportunity. I told them I couldn't. Move because my family is here." Sarah stared at Marcus. "You turned down a business opportunity because of us?" "Of course I did. This is my home now. You and Tommy and Emma are my family. I'm not going anywhere." Sarah felt tears come to her eyes. She had been waiting for months for Marcus to realize that his old life was more important than their relationship. Instead, he was choosing them over everything else. "Marcus, that was a big decision. Are you sure you won't regret it?" "The only thing I would regret is losing you," Marcus said, pulling her into his arms. "Sarah, I've been thinking about our future a lot lately." "What do you mean?" Marcus got down on one knee right there in the kitchen. Sarah gasped as he pulled out a small velvet box. "Sarah Martinez, you and your children saved my life. You taught me what love really means. Will you marry me?" Sarah stared at the beautiful ring in shock. She had hoped this day would come, but she was still surprised. "What about Tommy and Emma?" she asked. Marcus smiled. "I already asked them for permission. They said yes, but only if I promise to adopt them officially after we get married." "You want to adopt my children?" "I want them to be our children," Marcus said. "If you'll have me as your husband." Sarah felt overwhelmed with joy. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll marry you." Marcus stood up and put the ring on her finger. Then he kissed her as Tommy and Emma came running into the kitchen, having heard the conversation from the living room. "Are you really going to be our dad?" Emma asked Marcus. "If you want me to be," Marcus said, kneeling down to their level. "We do," Tommy said, hugging Marcus tight. The wedding was planned for 3 months later. Sarah wanted something small and simple, but Marcus insisted on making it special. They decided to have the ceremony in the same park where they had first met, near the playground where Tommy had his asthma attack. Sarah's friends from the diner and the medical office came to the wedding. Marcus's business associates attended too, though some of them still seemed surprised by his choice to marry a former waitress with 2 children. But none of that mattered to Sarah and Marcus. What mattered was the love they shared and the family they had created together. Sarah wore a simple white dress that made her feel beautiful. Tommy and Emma wore matching outfits and served as ring bearer and flower girl. Marcus looked handsome in his black suit, but Sarah could see that he was nervous. When it was time for vows, Marcus spoke first. "Sarah, when I heard you calling for help that day in this park, I thought I was just helping a stranger. I didn't know that you were actually rescuing me. You showed me what it means to love someone more than yourself. Tommy and Emma, you taught me how to be a father. I promise to love and protect all 3 of you for the rest of my life." Sarah wiped away tears as she said her vows. "Marcus, you came into our lives when we needed help the most. But you stayed because you wanted to be part of our family. You didn't just save Tommy's life that day. You saved all of us. I promise to love you and trust you and build a life with you." When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, Marcus kissed Sarah as Tommy and Emma cheered. The small crowd of family and friends clapped and threw flower petals. After the ceremony, they had a reception at a nearby restaurant. Marcus had arranged for a children's entertainer, so Tommy and Emma had fun while the adults celebrated. During the reception, Marcus's mother-in-law pulled Sarah aside. "I wasn't sure about this marriage at first," she admitted. "Marcus is my son, and I wanted to protect him, but I can see how happy you make him. And those children adore him." "He makes us happy too," Sarah said. "I never thought I would find love like this." "You're good for each other," the older woman said. "Marcus was so focused on work before he met you. Now he talks about family dinners and school plays. You've given him something money can't buy." As the evening wound down, Marcus and Sarah danced to their first song as husband and wife. Tommy and Emma joined them on the dance floor, and soon other couples were dancing too. "Are you happy?" Marcus whispered in Sarah's ear. "Happier than I ever thought possible," Sarah whispered back. A year later, Sarah was pregnant with their first child together. Tommy was now 7 and doing well in 2nd grade. Emma was 10 and had discovered a love for science, inspired by Marcus's work. The adoption papers had been finalized 6 months after the wedding. Tommy and Emma were now officially Tommy and Emma Washington. They called Marcus Dad and couldn't remember life without him. Marcus had started a scholarship program at his company for single mothers who wanted to go back to school. Sarah helped him interview applicants and often shared her own story to encourage other women. One evening, as Sarah was putting Tommy to bed, he asked her a question. "Mom, do you remember when I couldn't breathe at the park?" "Of course I remember, sweetheart. I'm glad that happened," Tommy said. Sarah was surprised. "Why would you be glad about getting sick?" "Because if I hadn't gotten sick, Dad never would have found us, and we wouldn't be a family." Sarah kissed Tommy's forehead and thought about how right he was. Sometimes the scariest moments in life led to the most beautiful blessings. Marcus appeared in the doorway with Emma, who had just finished her homework. "Story time?" Marcus asked. "Yes," Tommy said. "Tell us the story about how you and Mom fell in love." Marcus sat on one side of Tommy's bed while Sarah sat on the other. Emma curled up next to Sarah. "Well," Marcus began, "it all started on a day when I was feeling very lonely. I was walking through the park when I heard the most important sound of my life." "What sound?" Emma asked, even though she had heard this story many times. "I heard your mom calling for help," Marcus said, "and that's when I knew my real life was about to begin." As Marcus told their story, Sarah looked around at her family. Her children were healthy and happy. Her husband loved them all deeply. She was pregnant with a baby who would grow up knowing only love and security. Sometimes Sarah still couldn't believe this was her life. She had gone from being a struggling single mother to being part of a loving family. It all started with the scariest day of her life, when Tommy couldn't breathe and she thought she might lose him. But that terrible day had brought Marcus into their lives, and Marcus had brought them love, security, and a future full of possibilities. As Sarah tucked Emma into her own bed later that night, Emma asked her the same question Tommy had asked. "Mom, are you glad Tommy got sick that day?" Sarah thought about it carefully. "I'm not glad he got sick because that was scary and dangerous, But I'm grateful that it led us to Dad. Sometimes difficult things happen for reasons we don't understand at the time. Do you think Dad would have found us some other way? Emma asked. I think if two people are meant to be together, they'll find each other somehow, Sarah said. But I'm glad it happened the way it did. After the children were asleep, Sarah and Marcus sat together on their back porch, looking at the stars. Sarah's hand rested on her growing belly, and Marcus's arm was around her shoulders. Do you ever think about what your life would be like if you hadn't walked through the park that day? Sarah asked. Sometimes, Marcus said. I think I would. Still be working all the time and going home to an empty house. I would have money and success, but no real happiness. I think about it too, Sarah said. I think I would still be struggling to pay bills and feeling like I was failing my children. I would never have known what it felt like to have a partner who truly loves us. We saved each other, Marcus said, kissing the top of her head. Yes, we did, Sarah agreed. As they sat in comfortable silence, Sarah reflected on how much their lives had changed. She had learned that love could come from the most unexpected places. She had learned that it was okay to accept help from someone who genuinely cared. And she had learned that sometimes the worst days of your life could lead to the best things that ever happened to you. Marcus had learned that success meant more than money and business achievements. He had learned that the love of a family was more valuable than anything else in the world. And he had learned that helping others was the most rewarding work he could ever do. Their love story had started with a medical emergency and a desperate cry for help, but it had grown into something beautiful and lasting. They had created a family built on love, trust, and commitment. And as they sat together under the stars, both Sarah and Marcus knew that their best days were still ahead of them.